prayer protects me. When you say the light of God surrounds me and the love of God enfolds me and the power of God protects me and the presence of God watches over me, those are not some vain repetitions. That's the truth about you. You don't have to be worried about anything. All you have to do is line your consciousness up with the truth. If you line your consciousness up with the truth, all the forces of the universe work in your favor. I was looking at Thor over the weekend, and I don't know if you've seen the movie, and I only caught the last few minutes of it. In Thor, I'm just thinking, because it just seemed like the plot. I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught just this final part of it. Thor was human at one point. Like, I think he was a god, and then at some point he became human. As a human, he went to get his hammer. When I was in the barber shop, they talked about the hammer has a special name. I don't know what the name is for the hammer. I'm just going to call it a hammer. Thor went to get his hammer, and his hammer was almost locked in a pile of concrete. Now see, this hammer is part of how Thor uses his power to express who he is. Now Thor went to get the hammer, and in his humanness, the mighty Thor could not pull the hammer out of the pile of concrete. He pulled and pulled and pulled, and he could not for the life of him get that hammer out of the concrete. And the story went on, and Thor had a couple other fights, and now since he was not the mighty Thor, since he was just human Thor got whooped in the battle. When human Thor fought the giant, oh, good God. When human Thor fought the giant, doesn't matter what your giant is. Doesn't matter what your giant is. When human Thor fought the giant wound up killing human Thor. A lot of giants around here killing a lot of good folks with a lot of mighty potential. A lot of folks suffering under their humanness. Human Thor wound up getting killed because he didn't have his power, he didn't have his might, he didn't have his help with him. But sure enough, the giant killed mighty Thor. And as mighty Thor was laying in the ground with his girlfriend or wife or whoever she was laying over him and mourning the fact that mighty Thor was now dead, an amazing thing happened. As mighty Thor is laying there in his death, in the death of his humanness, I hope you hear me. As mighty Thor is laying there in the death of his humanness, his hammer of its own self, his hammer of its own self broke loose from the pile of concrete, and the hammer traveled from wherever the hammer was all the way over to where the dead Thor was. So much so that the girl's father heard something coming. It was woo, woo, woo. When the Holy Spirit is coming, you have to open your ears. See, you can't stay silent. You have to get silent when the Holy Spirit is coming. If you listen closely, you will hear what God is saying to you, but God is not going to shout it out to you. God is going to whisper it in the still small voice. And if there's too much noise in your soul, you will never hear what the Lord is saying to you. In your humanness, you are active. And in your humanness, you are talking. And in your humanness, you are busy. But sometimes you have to die to your humanness. And when you die to your humanness, you open yourself up to your mightiness. Oh, talk to me. So now Thor is laying here in his death, and his hammer, his help is on the way. When your help shows up, it will bring you back to life. The hammer traveled from wherever it was to find the mighty Thor, and the hammer hit like a thump. Boom! And when it hit, it brought Thor, the god. Is he a god? I don't even know what he is. I have to consult one of my comic book folk. When the hammer came, it brought Thor back to life. Oh, see, in your humanness, In your humanness, you can only access so much prosperity. But prosperity is a byproduct of God. Prosperity is a byproduct of the abundance of the Holy Spirit. And so if you insist on trying to access it through your humanness, you can only access so much of it. But if you access it through your spirituality, you can have as much health as you need. You can have as much money as you need. If you access it through your spirituality, you can have as many good relationships as you need. If you access it through your spirituality, ladies and gentlemen, Christ Universal Temple, it will bring you back to life. You can be dead. You can be left for dead. You can be gone. You can be over. You can be forgotten. You can be forgotten about. They can have moved on to their new experience, and you can be suffering laying in your corpse. But I'm telling you, when the Holy Spirit comes to you, it comes to give you life. All you have to do is be willing to conceive it. You must be willing to conceive it, but you also must be willing to believe it. And after you believe it, you will find yourself wherever you are, and your good will travel to you. You will not have to travel to go get it. Your good will travel to you. It will chase you down. It will travel from wherever it is to where you are so that it can sit with you and bless you and enrich you and make your life better and make the lives better of those who are connected to you, because this is the will of God, that you should live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life. And there is nothing about the nature of God that wants to see you without your good. All you have to do is be open to your divinity, and your good will come and find you. That's what I want to say to you this morning. You are mightier than you realize. Do you know who you are? It is time to get up from there. I've said this before. I've told you before. I'm talking. It's time to get up from there. Does not matter what it looks like. What it looks like is never a real indication of what it is. See, because in order to find God, you have to look into the invisible. God is spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And so stop looking at the facts, because the facts will lie to you every time. Connect to the truth. Get into your upper room and hear what God is saying to you. And like that daily inspiration said today, you have to be prepared to stand until you know what God is saying into and through you. God can be saying a bunch of stuff to a lot of other people. You need to hear your word from the Lord. So that's really all I got to say. It's been good, for me anyway.